manufacturers. Joybird is one of the best known direct-to-consumer furniture brands. It was acquired by La-Z-Boy back in 2018, and with considerable retail presence now around the US. It's been on a major project using advanced technology to deepen engagement. In fact, it's interesting that at the top of the event today, we saw a lot of people who thought that VR and AR are among the most overhyped technologies. Well, we're going to talk about the ways in which they're being used effectively here, among other advanced technologies, to do it right and deepen engagements. To talk about that, we have an old friend of MediaPost, Eric Tsai, who's the VP of Marketing and Business Development. Eric, how you doing today? Good to see you again.
Hey, how's everyone doing? Happy Friday.
I know that I'm going to let you queue up and load up your deck. I'm going to ride shotgun on this while you're walking us through a lot of good examples of the work that you guys are doing. And maybe one place to start is talk about what the major marketing goal was here for this project.
You know, a lot of the challenges we face is that people are not accustomed to buying furniture. You know, it's not like you buy furniture every year, every 2 years, you know, you buy probably new pants and new hats and new clothes and shoes and all that stuff. And you know yourself, your body and stuff. But, you know, furniture is a whole new game. And especially when you change your space, you know, you move to a different area, you bought a new house, you know, real estate is blowing up, right? And so you're seeing a lot of challenges in people understanding the product. And so that's one of the areas that, you know, it's not as easy as going to Amazon, see the sofa, and you can buy it. You know, that's one part of the reason why IKEA is still thriving. Mm-hmm. So, you know, our focus is really, you know, figure out a way to bring all the tools and knowledge to customers, and so that to help them make some of those decisions, and also being able to kind of support them in their shopping, you know, journey, right? So it's also a little bit more fun, right? It's also something they can, you know, get into more and get involved more, because, you know, we have a very high ticket item that we sell, and it's high consideration and long sales cycle.
What are some of the things you've been gathering? A lot of data from users, both in their interactions, but also a series of surveys. What have you been learning? What have they been asking you for when it comes to how they want to shop online for this kind of really high touch product?
I mean, some of the challenge people still have, you know, and it's no surprise, you know, it's very difficult to buy, you know, a few $1,000s worth of products sight unseen. Mm-hmm. And on top of it, you're not going to get it right away, because most of our products are custom, you know, ordered, that we have to build it for you after you ordered it. So, you know, you're talking about you know, a few $1,000s, waiting for a few months, right? And then also while you're doing that, you're putting together some other pieces of your house. So people really want to see, right, visualize it. They want to be able to, you know, touch it and feel it. You know, they want to be able to understand how a product would come in, because there's so much emotional investment prior to the purchase into it, and also just waiting for it.
I'm going to lean back a bit because I know you've got a bunch of things to show. Why don't you walk us through some of the ways in which you guys conceptualized this problem and started solving for it with technology?
Sure. Is everyone able to see the slides?
Yes, we can.
All right. So going to the kind of our marketing priorities, this is kind of, you know, since the beginning of the pandemic, it's always been the case, right? We want to drive higher top line with the incremental budgets. As you guys heard in the previous panelists, you know, we are doing all the stuff that everybody else is doing. We've been doing direct mail for many, many years. It has been great for us, but that's just driving traffic and eyeballs. What we want to do is to be able to up the experience after someone visited our store or interacted with our ads. So some of the important aspects of it is to improve the user experience, right? And the thing we talk about user experience are things like creating a virtual storefront, creating, you know, a chatbot experience integration, and providing design services, whether it's self-service or through our stylists and our certified interior designers to help you guys. So part of the things that I want to share on this slide, I know it's a little bit, you know, slide hell, I guess, and there's a lot of writing here, but if you look at the graphic on the right, we positioned ourselves as the guided advisor, right? And so whatever experience we bring in, we need to bring the advisor, because that part of it is where people need help on, you know, does that look good in my home? Will my kids destroy this fabric, right? And these are the type of, and then, you know, and when can I get this product, right? And things like that are important for people. So part of the thinking we have is to, you know, build a guided advisory, guided selling approach, but also you do it in a way that creates customer intimacy, right? And so some of the things that we talk about, you know, we learn from customers, they really want smart retail. You know, they want customers it's not about AI or replacing human interaction, but using technology to improve their interaction between the store associates and the customers, your website, and kind of the buying journey itself. So there's a lot of things that I want to point out, but most of it is we break it down by shopping experience. So there's a good slide that I took from other presentations that kind of show you guys like what that means. We're looking at 360-degree view of shopping experience. Somebody can go to our store first and then purchase in store. That's great. But most people don't do that, right? You see a lot of people go to our store and they actually buy online later on because they just want to make sure that you're not a fly-by company, you're legit, or they sit down on the sofa, they go, oh, this is firmer than I thought. And then there's also the other group where they go online, they looked around, they think it's cool, but like I said, they're very, very scared, sight on the scene, right? And they're gonna drop $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on it. It's just something where they're like, I love it, but I can't just pull the trigger. And so they would go to our store and ended up buying there. So a lot of it is figuring out the attribution between online and offline and how do you enhance these type of experiences. And so moving into virtual store, so that's one of the area. And we looked at virtual store experience in kind of 4 areas, right? One is 3D, 3D design services, 3D planning tools to allow you to visualize the product. So the shop online or in an app that shows actual photos of the room, allowing customers to design and shop the space, right? And then you have AR, which everyone think is hype, right? Which in many ways it is, right? Because it's still hard to get a superimposed product and then see it it's just one product. Everything else is still the same, right? So it's very difficult for people to kind of get a full view of it. But we do invest in those and we do try to test and learn from those. And then obviously you have the VR with the headsets and all that stuff. And then the last but not least is the video chat and messaging, right? So we have these 4 pillars of kind of our visual store experience that we're trying to build. And, one of the things that, really has worked out for us, let's talk about first is our visual video chats and messaging. And so we all have phones that have video capabilities now. So if you think about it, when you're talking about buying something, wouldn't it be nice to just get a human being on the phone and FaceTime them and you say, show me that product, right? And I'm in the comfort of my home, right? And there's COVID out there. I don't have to go out there. And maybe if I feel good about it, I'll go into the store. And that's one of the things we try to provide and leverage is to use technology to bridge that gap a little bit. And so some of the ways that we've seen working, we use an app called Hero, which allows us to do clienteling and do FaceTime and chat with the customers. And it really accelerated during the COVID situation because we already started doing this before COVID. And then as COVID comes through, it really just allows a lot more volume come in and it is very cost effective. And also compared to building out more stores, we can actually build out more virtual stores. And in fact, we have a virtual store in our office in LA here, and it's doing extremely well. And we were all blown away by how well people just want to see a person sit on the sofa, and they would ask questions like, could you please sit over to the left a little bit? Could you please, how tall are you, right? How heavy are you, right? So they get a really good idea, and they would just convert right there and then.
This is people online interacting with live people at a store.
At a store or at a virtual store, which doesn't have to be a store. It could be in any space. It could be a warehouse, right? But we set it up so it looks like a store, feels like a store, and there's decorations and everything.
And how much is automated, and how much, especially because you mentioned about messaging, how much of this is automated and how much of it is human interaction?
I mean, all the virtual stores are all human. Essentially the technology brings the leads, right? Brings the people, okay, somebody wants to talk to somebody, and then you fill up the schedule, right? We have store staff in our store that work on these, but when they're too busy, right, they divert this to our virtual store associates, right? So we have a real physical store, right, you can go visit, and then we have a virtual store that you really can't go visit because it's some warehouse, right, some other places in the building. But it's when you do the FaceTime, you don't know the difference. You just see furniture behind you and there's a human being talking to you. Right. And so there are some of these things that, again, it's very self-explanatory here, but it allows you to chat with somebody, build that relationship, just like you're texting your friends, texting your family, and then you FaceTime them, and then they show you the product, right? So that's one way that virtual has really taken off. And also, virtual taken off because millennials really have reshaped how we purchase these days, and they continue to be the fastest growing segment for Joybird. And we're very happy to support how they want to use technology, right? Not just how it's convenient for our business, but in a way that they want to build their home to look like an Instagram picture or like a Pinterest pin, right? So those are the type of things we try to get into. Next is chatbots. So now we have real human beings interacting with people through a kind of a FaceTime and stuff like that. We also want to bring people who don't want to show their face, but they still want to get their answer, right? And they still want to interact with somebody in a minimal way. And so one of the things we have done is to understand why we want to use chatbots, right? And essentially what we found is people value advice and assistance across the journey, right? And surprise, surprise, a lot of times we use Google, right? We Google search everything. And nowadays we even use, the voice activation search and stuff like that. But part of it is to understand if I give you the comfort of, DM me, right? Everybody DM somebody every single day, right? In fact, when you go to business meetings now, people just say, what is your Instagram handle, right? And so you can see the evolution of that. And so part of what we want to do is to kind of leverage that and say, okay, what are people going to do if we put this access out there, And what we found is also that it's very scalable, right? And address a lot of the questions that people wanted to understand. And some of it, they don't have to go and Google search it, research it again, refine the search, find which listing is the right answer for them. They can just ask us, right? And these has been very powerful for us. And a lot of it is just building a decision tree for us, right? To know the questions that's going to be front loaded and then build it into a conversational flow. And so the other thing about the chatbot is it facilitates people down the funnel farther, right? So, historically, you do a great TV ad, you do a great, pay media ad, people click, but they're still at the very upper funnel. And part of what this is able to do is to drive people farther down the funnel. And essentially, it kind of makes our media dollar go much farther than what we thought it would, right? So most people who are doing email marketing, that's great. People want to get on your email list, but what is your open rate? It's not 80%, it's lucky if you get 50%. And so those are the type of things we think about is how do we make the conversation go further and drive people further down the funnel. So here's an example of how that works, because when we message someone in chat, you're going to get it and it's going to come up like a notification. And so even if you want to avoid it or whatever, you have to cancel it, you're going to see it, right? So a lot of times, even email marketing, you don't see the open, right? You see maybe 30 or 40% open. That means 60, 70% of the users are not seeing your message. So these are the type of things we really try to focus on to drive users further down the shopping journey. So when they come to our website, right, they're actually ready to go.
Mm-hmm. And what sort of data are you gleaning from these interactions? Are you getting new and different knowledge of your users, and are you able also then at the site to personalize the experience on the back end?
Yeah, so here's an example, right, of a flow that you can see the conversations that we pre-built into the system with messenger ads. And now this is also part of Instagram DM. And in the past, we get very macro level data. But this, you can go into super deep, I think we get 100,000 or more data points from conversations on a monthly basis, and then we got to figure out a way to analyze them, to tie them to users. And there's so much information out there that we can build filters on our website to improve those experiences too. So it's really a two-way street. And with some of the things I can show you is, here's the what we call the guided sofa shopping experience, where we build this decision tree and people can decide what they like. And then later on, we actually have data that shows, okay, 47% of the people are into modern style. And then, you got 10% of people into this other style. But then when you have a thing like style, it's very difficult. It can be very subjective, right? Because now you can see there's two modern styles, there are two globalist styles, there are two boho styles. But we can see which boho style is actually performing better, which boho styles leads to more sales and carting. And these are the type of information that helps us to kind of improve our website experience. Because again, this is still at the upper funnel where people haven't been to our website. They're just chatting in the beginning, right? And so we get a lot of these information. You can talk about style. You can ask people questions on financing. We have things like style quiz, so we can understand what is the style that you like, what is the room and the color that you're looking for, and what are some of the great inspirations that you can get. And so some of the data that really has been amazing for us, through our setup is we learn, about 70 to 80% of the customers will actually complete these conversations, right? That's pretty amazing. And then after they complete the conversation, you still get about 60 to 70% of the people go to our website, right? So a lot of it, really outperform our expectations. And we have continued to leverage this to collect data, drive people to the different parts of the website, It's almost like you go to a store, you ask the store associates, where can I get toilet paper? They're going to say aisle 7. Well, there you go. This is going to point you to aisle 7 straight from the chat, right? And that's the type of thing that we've been building. And then go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And then the other thing, some of the other things that we're trying to implement is to create more entry points, right? So things like, even on our website itself, you can opt into lead generation, right? In stores, we can have someone scan a QR code and they can start chatting with the bot, right? But the whole idea is also to develop a way where people feel like they're talking to somebody, so it's not like a very kind of a sterile experience, right? So part of it is we try to make it fun. We talk to our customer service team and our staff and say, how would you talk to a customer, right? So that the marketing people don't make these assumptions like, oh, we should get the sales and we should do this and do that. But look, let's build a relationship first, right? And so a lot of the experience we've been building right now are things with Facebook and Instagram right now are their new DM messaging, which allows us to build chatbots to trigger based on words. So if you say something like, where's my order, right? It can trigger a certain flow, right? Those exact phrases, or you can even do things that has misspelling, right? So it's a little bit like integrating a trigger phrase like voice search, but now it's text.
Mm-hmm. I want to make sure that we have time to talk about the real sexy, the even sexier stuff, which is a 3D planner, because I'm always interested in the use of 3D and AR and VR technologies, how many people use them, how you move people into those technologies, and what value they deliver. So why don't you tell us about the ways in which you're sort of trying to move people into that next stage of using 3D planning?
Yeah, so we talked about in the very beginning, that users want to see the product in their space, right? But we also want to bring a little bit of the fun and gamification to the experience. So some of the things we've been working on with our partner Mark Sen, and also bring that to Pinterest, is to be able to develop what we call a Joybird design house. So on the Joybird design house link, if you guys go to the Joybird website, you'll see it. We provide tools. These are two separate tools, right? So one of them is 3D Space Planner, and the other one is a room refresh tool. So 3D Space Planner is actually a tool that we work with Mark Sen to develop as a self-service, but it works extremely well that our design team actually uses it as well. So in fact, if you design this room and you need help, our designers can help you. We can take it over right where you left off, or that we can help you design using this tool. And this tool also kind of turns whatever you design into a HD rendering, so it looks more realistic in what you actually put together. And then the room refresh is really to allow people to kind of see how things fit together. It's almost like a 3D room mood board, right? Whereas the 3D space planning, you can do very detailed customizing to exactly what you want. And so what we've been doing is testing with Pinterest. For example, you'll see a little pin that says trending, right? And then you click on that pin and it drives you into this kind of 3D planner experience immediately. And so if you see the ad on the left side, that sofa, the chair, the table is actually the ones that you see on the right side. And what you see on the right side, it's all rendered, right? And then essentially whatever you see that you like, you can click add to cart and you can buy directly from the Pinterest pins and directly from the 3D planning software.
How do you onboard people to do this effectively so they don't find it daunting? I think a lot of people find these tools may be fun and interesting to look at, but I think they also find it a little daunting, as if there's a learning curve just to know how to where to put the sofa in the room. How do you sort of get over that and get people to actually engage with the tools rather than just feel threatened by them?
Sure. I mean, that's a big challenge that we faced. And when we first started, is that we realized that not everybody want to be a designer, right? Not everybody wants to do it themselves. Some people want it to be serviced, and that's part of the reason why on the design services page, we actually started by offering design services for free. So you're getting service, or you're getting someone who's professional, is going to help you and support you. You don't have to use any of these tools if you don't want to. But what we want to do is to put it out there to see what happens, right? And it's good to learn from it, because part of the learning that we're going to get is, are the power users is going to help us lead the way, and what is it going to do to our performance, right? So some of the information that I can share right now, a lot of it is proprietary still, we're still collecting, but we have people who are using these tools up to like 30 to 40 minutes per session. Like you don't shop something for 30 to 40 minutes, and then they would stop and say, you know what, I'm going to save this, I'm going to get somebody from Joybird to help us. And then on the other hand, we have people that don't want to use this, and they get our design services people. And then afterwards we say, hey, you can actually tweak stuff if you want. Let me load up your room for you. And here's the link. You click on it, you can play with it, and then save it, and then I can get it back. So in a way, we're not trying to make this like a Photoshop where you have to know everything. But at the same time, it's about enhancing that customer experience where people can feel like, okay, I can get something that look like the picture, and then I can actually see how that looks in my room. That's kind of like the whole goal, right? And that's part of the reason why we work with Pinterest on that, because Pinterest users are, very different than, Facebook users and Instagram users, in a sense that they are more about planning and they want to do things themselves. And so we use that and start with Pinterest, and we've seen pretty decent results right now. In fact, when somebody uses Pinterest and then go into our tool and then start designing with our design services, we see almost like double the amount of average order value with people that are helping them versus people that don't help, right? So it shows you that people that want to get help, they will buy more, right? But at the same time, not everybody is going to ask you for help. So you can't force people to say, you must get help so we can double, your order. It's not how that works.
I want to dig deeper into the metrics in a second to round out my final questions. Before I do, I want to remind everybody, if you have questions for Eric, raise your hand and Lisa will get to you, or type your question into our own little chat box, and we'll ask it for you. So let's go into some of the metrics. As you start implementing some of these technologies, what are some of the new and different KPIs that you're now looking at? What are the things about, what are the needles that you're moving or optimizing against as you tweak these tools?
So I think that right now we're still in a lot of testing phase right now. So the important thing is for us to collect a lot of this data. So for example, for highly engaged users, right, and that are producing higher baskets and higher conversions, how do we learn from this, right, and said, okay, do we want people to stay on as long as possible? So like, for example, I'm showing you this slide, we just added cats and dogs, right? And into the thing, so it's more fun, it's more engaging. People are happy, and then we ask TVs and stuff like that. And what we wanted to learn is that, does higher engagement equate to higher average order value, longer lifetime value, right? Higher repeat purchase and stuff like that. And there's also things like carding, right? Are people carding the stuff that they see, right, in the planner? And then last but not least, we also have things where you can design from the photo. So essentially, like the last slide that I showed here, that's the design for photo example. So when we push people on certain styles, are we going to be able to sell what's in it, right? Because traditionally, that's not how our business works. Because people look at our pictures, they love what we do, they love our brands, but that product in the picture may not necessarily be what they want to purchase. And so these are the type of things we want to understand. So preliminary learning, we found out that these tools actually help sell the product that's in the image, right? It helps sell accessories that's in the image. It helps introduce new categories and new products that they wouldn't otherwise purchase. And there's a higher attachment rate and higher average order value because of that. So these are the type of things we're trying to understand. And obviously the other things also, this tool right now is only available on desktop or tablet because of the elongated experience that we want to have. So that's not where most of the volume is, right? But at the same time, we realize that, for example, when people are checking out on Joybird, people go to desktop, right? They want to just make sure that one last look of the big picture and the big sectional that they have, and they're okay, let me zoom in, make sure that everything looks great, okay, then I'll check out. But a lot of people, yes, they start on mobile, but as you guys know, mobile is very, very not a great experience, very small, especially when you're buying a $2,000, $3,000, or $4,000 worth of furniture and you can't see it. This is one way to kind of get people to close that loop at the end.
Let's see if we have any questions for you.
Hey, Eric.
Hi.
Hi. Well, this is, I think, really cool stuff. And I definitely think some of the poll questions would be answered differently now that they've heard what you're doing. But I'm curious, I know that this is a lot of testing and you're starting on Pinterest because, of course, it's very visual, which is what you're looking for. But and even though it is right now just for desktop, are you planning to, as you find out more information, being able to leverage it across other social platforms? I mean, Instagram obviously is very visual as well. Is there any way to sort of use these tools elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, so for example, we're starting to integrate like the chatbot, right? So when you're building a relationship with somebody, you're talking to somebody, and you're like, hey, I can help you with this. We have designers, and their designer will come in and help you, and the designer will use this tool. And when designers are working with you, a lot of it is just questions, right? How big is your space? What is your color tone? What's your budget? And so we use that to kind of pre-build this and to get people to, the devices where they can see it. And the thing about it is that, like I said in the beginning, there's a lot of entry points. That's why I said for chatbot, the entry point allows us to kind of manage the volume, incoming volume, and then we can facilitate them to these tools. And we haven't really pushed very hard on these tools because we're trying to, add more products, right? The 3D products takes time for us to build. And, everything is custom based on our product, and our products are custom too. It's not standard. So, a lot of times it's really predicated on, for example, we can use in Facebook and Instagram, but we have to drive people to this landing page and then let them learn about this tool. We have videos, we have instructions of how people can get help, or you can talk to our design service team and they'll help you.
I think one thing that everybody wonders about, especially startups, is is partnering with third-party tech providers and platforms. What have you learned about using someone else's technology to achieve and to build your own customer experience?
You really have to understand your customers very well, and you have to be an advocate for your customer, as opposed to just looking at the P&L and everything. I understand that's also important. Don't get me wrong. Our finance team is on us all the time about where's the ROI for this? Well, what can I see the return on? And there are so many sophisticated tracking that the tool provides. Like it'll show you the category, how long people stay, what devices are on, all the different information. But the idea is that, do you know what's important to your customer, right? And those are the type of things that we focus on. Is this technology is available with other people as well. But when we chose the partner they really get into our business. They understand what our needs are. And, they're trying to build something that's uniquely for us. And also that, there's a true partnership there where it's not just about, kind of like a sales type of experience, So we try to make people understand, make our partners understand that, work with us, right? Work with our customers, get information, and they're willing to tweak everything that you see here. They didn't have this before. But working with us, let's add this dog, because many customers from Joybird have pets, right? And those are the type of things that's going to help improve the experience. And maybe it's more work for them, but they realize that that's going to help our user experience.
Good life advice: add a dog. Eric, thank you so much once again. Love having you. This is really cool stuff.
Thank you so much, everyone.